In the summer of 1980, the air in Sophia Tang's small town buzzed with anticipation. China's National College entrance exam, reinstated just a few years after the Cultural Revolution, promised a path to prestige and opportunity in a society hungry for progress. For Sophia, the only daughter of the Tang family who owned the town's thriving textile factory, the exam represented more than personal ambition. It was a chance to secure a future with her fiancé, Jason Miller. The Tang's wealth made them local royalty, but Sophia's heart was tethered to Jason, a charming young man whose intelligence and ambition had won her over since childhood. Yet, on a sweltering afternoon in their modest living room, Jason's latest demand threatened to unravel her dreams. Sophia sat across from Jason, her hands clasped tightly in her lap as he leaned forward on the worn couch, his eyes gleaming with self-assurance. His widowed mother, Linda Miller, hovered nearby, her sharp gaze fixed on Sophia. The room, adorned with simple wooden furniture and a faded portrait of Sophia's grandparents, felt stifling despite the open windows. Jason's childhood friend Emily Clark stood quietly in the corner, her plain dress and downcast eyes belying the tension her presence sparked. Emily came from a low-income family, her parents scraped by as farmers, and Sophia had always pitied her, but pity was not what Jason demanded today. "Sophia, you know I'm set to ace the college entrance exam," Jason said, his voice smooth but edged with expectation. "Your family's got money to spare. It's only right that you support me. But here's the thing, Emily must go to college too. She's like a sister to me, and I can't just leave her behind." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "If you don't agree to fund both of us, I'm not taking the exam. And if I don't go to college, you won't have a college-educated husband. Trust me, Sophia, you'd be the one losing out." The words hit Sophia like a slap. Her cheeks flushed not from anger, but from the sting of betrayal masked as loyalty. She glanced at her parents, who sat rigidly at the dining table. Her father, Mr. Tang, gripped the edge of his chair, his brow furrowed, while her mother's eyes flashed with concern. They had welcomed Jason into their home, fed him, clothed him, and treated him like a son, all because Sophia loved him. In an era where sons were prized and daughters often overlooked, the Tangs had raised Sophia like a treasure, shielding her from the harsh realities of their patriarchal town. But now Jason's audacity tested their patience. "Jason, we've always supported you," Mrs. Tang said, her voice measured but firm. "We don't mind helping you, but asking us to fund Emily too, that feels excessive. We're not sure about her relationship with you." Her words hung in the air, heavy with suspicion. The Tangs had sensed something off about Jason and Emily's closeness, a bond that seemed to transcend friendship. They feared funding Emily's education alongside Jason's might entangle their daughter in a dangerous dynamic. Sophia's heart raced. She wanted to defend Jason and insist that his care for Emily was innocent, reflecting his kind heart. After all, they had grown up together, Sophia, Jason, and their small circle of friends running through the fields near the factory, laughing under the stars. Jason had always been her protector, her confidant, the boy who promised her a future. But his ultimatum felt like a betrayal of that promise. The college entrance exam was a golden ticket in 1980s China, a chance to rise above the struggles of the past decade. A degree could elevate Jason to a status worthy of the Tang's wealth, but his insistence on tying Emily to their future gnawed Sophia's trust. Linda Miller stepped forward, her voice dripping with indignation. "Sophia, Emily has been a blessing to our family. She's helped me through tough times and gotten the grades to prove she's worth it. You should be grateful to support her, not question it." Her words carried the weight of expectation, as if Sophia owed the Millers for their mere existence. The room grew quieter, the hum of cicadas outside amplifying the tension. Sophia's mind swirled. Even before the engagement, she had always seen herself as part of the Miller family. She had cooked for Linda, mended her clothes, and listened to her complaints, often placing her above her mother. Yet now, faced with this demand, doubt crept in. Was Jason's loyalty truly to her, or was Emily more than a sister? The societal pressure of the time weighed heavily. Women were expected to obey, to sacrifice for their men, especially in a town where a man's education was a family's pride. Refusing Jason could mean losing him, a prospect that terrified the naive girl who believed in his goodness. As Jason leaned back, a smug smile playing on his lips, Sophia felt a flicker of something new, a spark of defiance, though she didn't yet recognize it. The Tang's factory, a symbol of their hard-earned success, gave her family leverage, making them a target for opportunists. Jason's demand wasn't just about money, it was a test of control, a challenge to her family's authority. The community outside their walls would judge her choice, whispering about her duty as a woman to support her fiancé. But in that moment, Sophia sensed a truth she couldn't yet name. Her love for Jason had blinded her to his flaws, and this demand was only the beginning. The Tang family's living room felt like a cage as Sophia Tang stared at Jason Miller's smug expression, his ultimatum echoing in her ears: fund both his and Emily Clark's college education, or lose him forever. The weight of his words pressed against her chest, threatening to crush the naive love she had nurtured since childhood. Her parents' concerned glances and Linda Miller's sharp insistence deepened the tension. Outside, the cicadas droned in the 1980s summer heat, a reminder of the world moving forward while Sophia stood at a crossroads. But then, unbidden, a vision surged through her mind, a memory so vivid it tore her from the present, plunging her into a past life that ended in betrayal and blood. She was lying on the cold floor of her family's factory office, 7 months pregnant, her body racked with pain. Blood pooled beneath her, warm and relentless, as she clutched her swollen belly, gasping for breath. Above her, Jason and Emily stood, their faces cold and unmoved, watching her die. Her parents' hearts, broken by their betrayal, were already gone, their deaths caused by the shock of losing their life's work. The factory, the Tang's pride, had been stolen through deceit, signed away under pretenses. Sophia's unborn child, a flicker of hope, was lost in the hemorrhage that claimed her life. As her vision faded, a celestial figure appeared, a radiant silhouette against the darkness, its voice soft yet commanding. "Your trust was your undoing," it said. "Learn from it, guard your heart, and seize your second chance." The figure's touch was like a spark pulling her soul back, granting her rebirth to rewrite her fate. Sophia blinked, her breath catching as she returned to the present. The living room snapped back into focus, Jason's expectant gaze, Emily's feigned meekness, Linda's judgmental stare. But now Sophia saw them differently. The veil of love that had blinded her was torn away, replaced by the searing clarity of her past life's tragedy. She wasn't the same naive girl who had trusted Jason's promises. She was reborn with memories of betrayal and a divine mandate to protect her family and herself. Her hands, once trembling with doubt, steadied as resolve took root. This time, she would not yield to Jason's manipulation. She would not let her parents' factory or their lives fall to his greed. The 1980s were a time of transformation in China, with the National College Entrance Exam symbolizing a new era of opportunity after years of upheaval. A college degree was a ticket to social mobility, a dream for many in Sophia's town, where education was revered as a path to honor. Jason's talent and ambition had once made him a star in her eyes, but now she saw his demand to fund Emily's education as a calculated move, not brotherly loyalty. Emily, with her quiet demeanor and calculated glances, was no innocent. Sophia's past life revealed their affair, their plotting, and their heartless betrayal. The celestial figure's words echoed, "Guard your heart." She would not be fooled again. Sophia's parents sensed her shift, though they didn't understand its source. Her father, Mr. Tang, leaned forward, his voice low. "Sophia, you don't have to agree to this. We can support Jason, but Emily, it's too much." His weathered hands, calloused from years of building the factory, clenched in frustration. Mrs. Tang touched Sophia's arm, her eyes pleading. "We want what's best for you, dear. Think carefully." In their faces, Sophia saw the love that had raised her like a princess, shielding her from the era's harsh gender norms that favored sons. But that love had also made her vulnerable, trusting in Jason's goodness when her parents had seen his flaws. Jason leaned closer, his voice dripping with condescension. "Come on, Sophia. Your family's not short on money. Don't be stingy. Emily and I are like family. You wouldn't let her suffer, would you?" Emily stepped forward, her voice soft but calculated. "Please, Sophia, I'll study hard and repay you, I promise." Her words were a performance designed to tug at Sophia's compassion, but the memory of Emily's cold sneer in her past life, watching Sophia bleed out, made her stomach churn. This was no sisterly plea, it was a trap. Sophia's mind raced, the celestial vision anchoring her resolve. She saw the future. She could prevent her parents' deaths, her child's loss, her demise. The factory, a symbol of her family's resilience in a recovering China, was at stake. The community outside their walls would judge her, expecting a woman to obey her fiancé, to sacrifice for his dreams. But Sophia was no longer bound by those expectations. The spark of rebirth ignited a fire within her. She would protect her family, reclaim her future, and expose Jason and Emily for who they were. As Jason waited for her answer, his smug smile faltering under her steady gaze, Sophia felt the weight of her second chance. This was not just about refusing his demand, but about rewriting her destiny. The cicada's song faded, replaced by the beat of her heart, steady and sure. She would not let love blind her again. This time she would choose wisely, act boldly, and guard her heart against those who sought to exploit it. Sophia Tang stood frozen in her family's living room, the weight of Jason Miller's ultimatum and her reborn memories colliding like storm clouds. The vision of her past life's end bleeding out on the factory floor, betrayed by Jason and Emily Clark, lingered like a scar on her soul. As Jason's smug voice demanded she fund both his and Emily's college education, and his mother, Linda Miller, pressed her with righteous indignation, Sophia's mind drifted back to the life she had lost. The pain of that betrayal, etched in blood and heartbreak, fueled her resolve to rewrite her fate. In the 1980s, when the National College Entrance Exam was a beacon of hope in a recovering China, her past life's tragedy was a warning she could not ignore. In that previous life, Sophia had been the dutiful fiancée, her heart bound to Jason since their childhood days chasing fireflies by the river. His intelligence and ambition shone brightly in their small town, where a college degree was a rare and revered achievement, promising a future of influence and respect. When the college entrance exam was reinstated in 1977, Jason's potential made him a local star, and Sophia, with her family's wealth, saw it as her duty to support his dreams. When he insisted that the Tangs also sponsor Emily, his childhood friend from a struggling farming family, Sophia's parents hesitated. Mr. Tang, who had built their textile factory from nothing, sensed an unsettling closeness between Jason and Emily. "It's not about the money," he had said, his voice heavy with concern. "It's their relationship. If they study side by side, what's to stop an affair?" Sophia, blinded by love, dismissed their worries as paranoia. She trusted Jason's character, believing his care for Emily was platonic, a brotherly duty. Against her parents' objections, she persuaded them to fund both Jason and Emily's education. The Tang factory, a cornerstone of the town's economy, provided the means, its looms humming day and night to clothe hundreds. It symbolized her family's resilience in an era of economic reform, a testament to their rise from humble roots. Sophia's insistence won out, and her parents relented, pouring their wealth into Jason and Emily's futures. Both excelled, gaining admission to a prestigious university. Sophia's heart swelled with pride, envisioning a life where Jason's education would elevate their family. After graduation, he proposed, and they married, a union celebrated by the town as a perfect match of wealth and ambition. Jason even declined a chance to study further in Beijing, choosing instead to return and work at the Tang factory alongside Emily, who secured a clerical role. Sophia believed she had found a devoted husband. She cared for Linda, cooking and cleaning despite her sharp tongue, and her parents entrusted Jason with increasing authority at the factory, hoping his education would secure its future in a competitive market. But the illusion shattered when Sophia was 7 months pregnant. Jason and Emily, using their cunning, forged documents to deceive her parents into signing over the factory's ownership. The betrayal was a dagger to the Tangs' hearts. Mr. and Mrs. Tang, devastated by the loss of their life's work, died within days, their health crumbling under the shock. Sophia, overwhelmed by grief, collapsed at the factory, a fall, triggering a massive hemorrhage. As she lay dying, her unborn child slipping away, Jason and Emily stood over her, their faces devoid of remorse. "You should have known better," Emily had whispered, her voice cold as ice. Sophia's world faded to black, her last breath a silent plea for justice. Back in the present, Sophia's hands clenched as the memory receded. Jason's voice snapped her back. "Sophia, don't be so stingy," he said, his tone mocking. "Your family can afford it. Help Emily or you'll regret it." Emily stepped forward, her eyes glistening with feigned sincerity. "I'll repay you, Sophia, I swear." But Sophia saw through the act, her past life's memories revealing Emily's true nature, a schemer who coveted Jason and resented Sophia's wealth. Linda chimed in, "Emily's a good girl. You owe her for all she's done for us." The audacity of their words, echoing the manipulations of her past life, ignited a fire in Sophia's chest. The factory, her parents' legacy, loomed large in her mind. 1980s private enterprises were rare, and the Tang's success made them a target. Jason's demand wasn't just about education, it was a step toward controlling their wealth. Sophia's rebirth, granted by the celestial figure's cryptic promise, was her chance to protect that legacy. Her parents watched her, their faces etched with worry, unaware of the memories driving her resolve. The town outside, steeped in traditional values, expected her to comply, to be the obedient fiancé. But Sophia was no longer that girl. She would not let Jason and Emily destroy her family again. This time, she would fight. Sophia Tang's heart pounded as she stood in her family's living room, the echoes of her past life's betrayal sharpening her resolve. Jason Miller's ultimatum: fund his and Emily Clark's college education, or lose him, hung like a storm ready to break. His mother, Linda Miller, stood beside him, her eyes narrowed with expectation, while Emily lingered in the corner, her meek facade barely concealing her ambition. The Tang's textile factory, a symbol of her parents' hard-won success in the burgeoning economy of 1980s China, was at stake. In a society where the national college entrance exam was a gateway to prestige, and women were expected to defer to men, Jason's demand was more than a request. It was a power play. But Sophia, reborn with the memories of betrayal and a celestial mandate to guard her heart, was no longer the naive girl who would bend. The room was tense, the hum of cicadas outside underscoring the silence. Sophia's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Tang, sat at the dining table, their faces etched with concern. They had built their factory from nothing, its looms weaving cloth that clothed hundreds, a beacon of private enterprise in a town still shaped by traditional values. They had supported Jason, treating him like a son, but his insistence on including Emily crossed a line. Sophia, Mr. Tang said, his voice steady but urgent. "You don't have to do this. We'll help Jason, but Emily's not our responsibility." Mrs. Tang reached for Sophia's hand, her touch warm. "Think of the factory, dear." "We can't let it be used like this." Jason leaned forward, his smile smug. "Sophia, your family's rich. Sponsoring Emily won't dent your fortune." "Don't make this more complicated than it needs to be," Linda chimed in, her tone sharp. "Emily's been a blessing to our family. She deserves this, and you should be grateful to help her." Emily stepped forward, her voice soft but calculated. "Please, Sophia, I'll repay you 1,000 times over." The words were a rehearsed plea, but Sophia's past life memories, Emily's cold sneer as she bled out, exposed their falsity. This was no act of charity. It was a scheme to entangle the Tang's wealth. Sophia's hands clenched, her reborn clarity cutting through her old love for Jason. In her past life, she had yielded to his threats, funding both him and Emily, only to lose everything: her parents, her child, her life. The factory, a lifeline for their town, had been stolen through their deceit. Now, in 1980, with China's economic reforms fueling dreams of prosperity, the factory was more than wealth. It was her family's legacy, a shield against opportunists like Jason. The community outside their walls, steeped in patriarchal norms, expected Sophia to obey her fiancé, to secure a college-educated husband at any cost. But the celestial figure's words, "Learn from your trust and guard your heart," burned in her mind. She would not repeat her past mistakes. Taking a deep breath, Sophia met Jason's gaze, her voice steady. "I've heard enough. If you think threatening our engagement will make me comply, you're wrong." The room stilled, Linda's jaw dropping slightly. Jason's smile faltered. "What are you saying?" he snapped, his confidence cracking. Sophia stepped forward, her eyes unyielding. "I'm saying we're done, Jason. The engagement is off, and the sponsorship for your exam. That's gone too. The Tang and Miller families have nothing to do with each other anymore." Linda gasped, clutching her chest dramatically. "How dare you speak to us like that? You're practically a Miller already. Emily's our benefactor, which means she's yours too." Her voice rose, a performance meant to guilt Sophia. But Sophia's past life had taught her Linda's tactics, her endless criticism, her manipulation. "If Emily's so essential to your family, Mrs. Miller, why don't you pay for her?" Sophia retorted, her tone sharp with sarcasm. "The Tangs owe you nothing." Jason's face reddened, his composure crumbling. "Sophia Tang, you'll regret this. You'll be left with nothing if I don't take the exam. I'm your ticket to a respectable future." His threat echoed the patriarchal expectations of their town, where a woman's status often hinged on her husband's achievements. But Sophia stood firm, her reborn strength unshaken. "I'll take that risk," she said coolly. Turning to the housekeeper, she added, "Escort them out." As the heavy iron gate slammed shut behind Jason, Emily, and Linda, the room felt lighter, the air less oppressive. Sophia's parents rushed to her side, their relief palpable. "Sophia, you were so brave," Mrs. Tang said, her eyes shining with pride. Mr. Tang nodded, though worry lingered in his voice. "Are you sure about this? Breaking an engagement isn't small in this town. People will talk." Sophia knew he was right. The community would gossip, judging her defiance as unwomanly. But the factory, her parents' lives, and her future were worth more than their whispers. Outside, a few villagers had gathered, their murmurs carrying through the open windows. "She's too bold," one said. "A woman should support her man, not challenge him." Another scoffed. "The Tang's money won't buy her a husband if she's this stubborn." But Sophia ignored them, her resolve hardened by her past life's lessons. She would protect her family's legacy and forge her path no matter the cost. As the cicada's song faded into the evening, Sophia felt a spark of freedom, a promise that her rebirth would lead to triumph. The iron gate's clang still echoed in Sophia Tang's ears. As she stood in the quiet of her family's living room, the weight of her broken engagement with Jason Miller settling like dust. The summer of 1980 hummed outside, and the cicada's song was a constant reminder of a world moving forward in post-cultural revolution China. The National College entrance exam loomed a symbol of opportunity in a nation eager to rebuild, but Sophia's heart no longer pinned its hopes on Jason. Her reborn memories of betrayal, loss, and a celestial mandate to guard her heart urged her to forge a new path. The Tang family's textile factory, her parents' legacy, demanded protection, and Sophia knew she needed an ally, not a manipulator. Her thoughts turned to Zev Carter, a name from her past life that carried gratitude and promise. In that tragic former life, Zev had been a quiet hero. After Sophia's death, when Jason and Emily had stolen the factory and dumped her family's bodies in a mass grave, Zev, with his meager savings, had ensured they were properly buried. Later, as the top scorer in the national exam, he used his growing influence to seek justice for the Tangs, a gesture born of unspoken affection for Sophia. Now reborn, she saw Zev as a savior and a partner who could help her secure her family's future and ambitions. In the 1980s, when education was a ladder to social mobility, Zev's brilliance and integrity made him the perfect choice. Sophia set out at dawn, the mountain path to Zev's home winding through fields of wildflowers. As she climbed toward the Carter family's modest shack, the air was crisp, scented with earth and pine. Zev was crouched among the herbs he gathered to sell, his hands stained green from supporting his sick father. His dark eyes widened at the sight of Sophia, her silk dress starkly contrasting with his patched shirt. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" he asked, his voice a mix of surprise and caution. Her presence was an anomaly in a town where wealth and poverty rarely mingled. Sophia took a deep breath, her resolve steady. "Zev, I know what you're capable of. You're brilliant and deserve a chance at the college entrance exam. I want to sponsor you, pay for your fees, books, everything. But there's a condition." She paused, meeting his gaze. "You have to help me study too. I'm taking the exam myself." Her words hung in the air, bold and unexpected. The exam was a grueling challenge, its competitive nature a test of endurance in a nation where millions vied for limited university spots. It was a daring leap for Sophia, whose grades had always been average, but her rebirth demanded she seize control of her destiny. Zev stared at her, his calloused hands stilling. "You're serious?" he asked, searching her face for a hint of jest. Sophia nodded, her voice firm. "I know about your father's illness, how it drained your savings. You plan to skip this year's exam to work, but you're too talented to wait. I believe in you, Zev, and I need your help to believe in myself." Her honesty disarmed him, and his guarded expression softened for a moment. Sophia had learned of Zev's quiet feelings for her in her past life, his belief that he wasn't good enough for the factory owner's daughter. Now she saw the weight of that humility in his eyes. I don't know what to say," Zev admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "I've always admired you, Sophia, but I never thought you'd see me as anything but Jason's shadow." His voice held a trace of vulnerability, revealing a man who had sacrificed his dreams for his family's survival. "My father's treatments left us with nothing, but I studied every night hoping for a chance. If you're offering this, I won't let you down. I'll tutor you, and we'll both pass that exam." His determination sparked a warmth in Sophia's chest, contrasting with Jason's manipulative demands. She smiled, a genuine hope blooming. "Then it's a deal. We'll study together, and we'll make it." Zev's agreement felt like a weight lifted, a partnership forged on mutual benefit and shared respect. Unlike Jason, who saw her wealth as a tool, Zev valued her ambition. The cultural stakes of 1980s China amplified their pact. Passing the exam could elevate them both, securing a future for the Tang factory and Zev's struggling family. The community might whisper about a rich girl studying with a poor herbalist, but Sophia no longer cared for their judgment. As they descended the mountain, Zev carrying a basket of herbs, Sophia felt a spark of possibility. The factory her parents' pride would be safer with someone like Zev, whose integrity she trusted. Her past life had taught her the cost of blind faith. Her rebirth offered a chance to choose wisely. "Let's start tomorrow," she said, her voice bright. Zev nodded, a shy smile breaking through. "Tomorrow it is." The path ahead was daunting, but with Zev by her side, Sophia sensed a new chapter beginning, one of strength, not submission. Sophia Tang woke before dawn, the faint glow of a lantern casting shadows across her bedroom. The summer of 1980 was unrelenting, its heat seeping into the Tang family's spacious home, but Sophia's focus was sharper than ever. Her decision to break her engagement with Jason Miller and ally with Zev Carter had set her on a new path that led to the National College entrance exam. This grueling test defined futures in post-cultural revolution China. With Zev as her tutor, Sophia was determined to prove she was more than the factory owner's daughter, more than the naive girl who had once trusted Jason. Her reborn memories, fueled by a celestial mandate to guard her heart, drove her to rewrite her destiny through education. But the path was steep, and her average grades made the challenge daunting. In the 1980s, the college entrance exam was a national obsession, a gateway to social mobility, in a country rebuilding from decades of turmoil. Millions competed for limited university spots, each question a test of endurance and intellect. The exam was a mountain to climb for Sophia, whose academic record had been unremarkable. She had grown up sheltered, and her parents' textile factory provided a comfortable life that shielded her from the competitive fervor gripping her peers. Now, with the factory's legacy at stake and her past life's betrayal as a warning, she resolved to match the ambition of her town's brightest minds. Sophia and Zev set up a study space in the Tang's dining room, a sturdy table covered with dog-eared textbooks and ink-stained notebooks. With his sharp mind honed by years of self-study despite poverty, Zev was a patient teacher. He said that math is your weakest subject, pushing a stack of algebra problems toward her. "Let's start with quadratic equations." Sophia's stomach knotted at the sight of the numbers, her past attempts at math often ending in frustration. But her rebirth had ignited a fire within her. She would not let fear or doubt define her. Hours blurred into days as Sophia poured herself into her studies. She woke at 4 a.m., her eyes gritty with sleep, and worked until midnight, her fingers cramped from writing. Mathematics was her nemesis, the equations twisting like riddles she couldn't unravel. One evening, struggling with a complex problem, she slammed her pencil down, tears prickling her eyes. "I'm not smart enough for this, Zev," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What if I fail?" Zev looked up from his notes, his dark eyes steady. "You're not failing, Sophia. You're fighting. Every mistake is a step closer to understanding. Keep going." His words grounded in his struggles as a poor herbalist rekindled her resolve. Sophia pushed herself to study 16 hours a day, more than her peers gathered in town to swap notes and dreams. She kept a book open during meals, muttering formulas between bites of rice. Her parents watched, their pride mixed with worry. "Don't overwork yourself," Mrs. Tang said, setting a bowl of soup beside her. But Sophia saw the factory's looms in her mind, their steady hum a reminder of her parents' sacrifices. In her past life, Jason and Emily had stolen that legacy. This time, Sophia would protect it by proving her worth not just as an heiress, but as a scholar. The cultural stakes of the exam amplified her efforts. In the 1980s, a college degree was a badge of honor in China, elevating families in a society that revered education. For women, the path was narrower, with societal norms often prioritizing marriage over ambition. Sophia's choice to take the exam challenged those expectations, drawing whispers from neighbors who saw her as too bold, too defiant after rejecting Jason. But her reborn clarity drowned out their voices. She wasn't just studying for herself, she was studying to secure the factory's future, to ensure her parents' legacy endured. Zev's guidance was her anchor. He clarified concepts, drawing diagrams to untangle calculus or reciting historical dates with a rhythm that made them stick. His stakes were high, his father's illness had drained their savings, and the exam was his chance to lift his family from poverty. Yet he never rushed Sophia, celebrating her small victories like solving her first differential equation. "You're getting it," he said one night, a rare smile breaking through his serious demeanor. Sophia's confidence grew, her fear giving way to determination. As weeks passed, Sophia's progress became tangible. She could factor polynomials without hesitation, recite literary analyses, and tackle physics problems with growing ease. Once trembling with doubt, her hands moved with purpose across the page. The factory her parents' pride felt within reach, not as a burden, but as a goal she could earn. Her rebirth had given her a second chance, and her academic struggle transformed her from a sheltered heiress into a woman of resilience. With Zev by her side, Sophia saw a future where she could stand tall, not as Jason's fiancé, but as her person, ready to face the exam and whatever came next. The Tang family's dining room glowed softly under the flicker of a single lamp, its light casting long shadows across the table strewn with textbooks and crumpled notes. Sophia Tang, her eyes heavy from another 16-hour study session, pored over a physics problem, her pencil scratching furiously. The summer of 1980 pressed on the National College entrance exam, looming like a mountain in post-cultural revolution China, where a degree could transform lives. Beside her, Zev Carter flipped through a history text, his calm presence a steady anchor in her turbulent journey. Sophia's rebirth, sparked by a celestial vision warning her to guard her heart, had led her to Zev, a brilliant but impoverished young man whose quiet heroism in her past life had left an indelible mark. As they studied together, preparing for the exam that could secure the Tang factory's future, Sophia sensed there was more to Zev than his stoic exterior revealed. In her past life, Zev had been a shadow in her world, a poor herbalist who buried her family after Jason Miller and Emily Clark's betrayal left them in a mass grave. His actions, driven by unspoken affection, had haunted Sophia, a testament to his integrity. Now, as they shared late-night study sessions, she glimpsed the man behind the sacrifice. Zev's hands, calloused from gathering herbs to fund his father's treatments, moved with precision as he sketched a diagram to explain momentum. His dark eyes, usually guarded, softened when he caught her struggling. "Take it step by step," he said, his voice low but encouraging. "You've got this, Sophia." His patience stirred something in her, a trust she hadn't felt since Jason's betrayal. One evening, as the cicadas' song filled the humid air, Sophia set her pencil down, her curiosity outweighing her focus. "Zev, why do you push so hard for this exam?" she asked. "I know it's for your father, but there's more, isn't there?" Zev hesitated, his fingers tracing the edge of a worn book. The silence stretched heavy with the weight of a life shaped by hardship. Zev's stakes were personal in the 1980s in China, where the exam was a rare path out of poverty. "My father was a teacher before the Cultural Revolution," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "He lost everything, his job, his health. I studied by candlelight after herb runs, dreaming of making him proud. But when his illness worsened, I had to choose his medicine or my exam fees. I chose him." Sophia's heart ached at his words. She saw the boy who had sacrificed his dreams, the man who still carried that burden. "Then you came along." Zev continued, meeting her gaze. "You saw something in me, Sophia, when no one else did. I always admired you, but thought you were out of reach, Jason's fiancé, the factory owner's daughter. I told myself you deserved better than him, but I never dared say it." His admission hung between them, raw and unguarded. Sophia had learned of Zev's quiet love in her past life, his belief that his poverty made him unworthy. His honesty deepened their bond, a partnership built on mutual respect. Sophia swallowed her reborn clarity, urging her to share her truth. "Zev, there's something you should know," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. I've lived this life before. I died because of Jason and Emily's betrayal, my parents, my child, everything gone. A celestial figure gave me this second chance to protect my family. That's why I chose you. I know you're honorable, and I trust you." Zev's eyes widened, but he didn't recoil. Instead, he nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. He said, "I don't understand everything, but I believe you. You're fighting for something bigger than yourself, and I'm with you, Sophia. We'll face the exam together." The moment sealed their alliance, a pact forged in the crucible of shared dreams and past pain. The exam's cultural weight in 1980s China, where a degree could elevate a family's status or secure a factory's future, amplified their resolve. The Tang factory, a symbol of economic reform, needed educated leadership to thrive, and Sophia saw Zev as its potential steward. The town's whispers branding her bold for studying with a poor man faded against her determination. Zev's vulnerability revealed a strength that contrasted sharply with Jason's manipulative arrogance, making him not just a tutor but a true partner. Zev's hand brushed hers as they returned to their books, a fleeting touch that sparked warmth in Sophia's chest. He said, "Let's tackle that physics problem again," a shy smile breaking through. Sophia nodded, her fear of failure giving way to hope. Her rebirth had given her a chance to rewrite her story, and Zev's hidden depths showed her she wasn't alone. Together, they would conquer the exam, protect the factory, and build a future free from the shadows of her past. The Tang family's dining room, once a haven for Sophia Tang's late-night study sessions with Zev Carter, transformed into a war room as the summer of 1980 pressed on. The National College Entrance Exam loomed a beacon of opportunity in a China eager to rebuild after the Cultural Revolution, but Sophia's focus extended beyond her books. Her reborn memories of Jason Miller and Emily Clark stealing her family's textile factory in her past life burned like a warning. The factory, a humming heart of their small town, was more than wealth. It was her parents' legacy, a symbol of resilience in the era of economic reform. With her engagement to Jason severed and her alliance with Zev growing, Sophia knew she had to act to secure the factory's future. Her celestial mandate to guard her heart now meant protecting her family's empire. In the 1980s, private enterprises like the Tang factory were rare, and their success was a testament to grit in a nation shifting toward market reforms. The factory's looms wove cloth for hundreds, employing half the town and fueling local pride. But its prominence made it a target, as Sophia had learned in her past life when Jason and Emily's deceit stripped it away. Determined to prevent history's repetition, Sophia called a family meeting one humid evening. The dining room, lit by a single bulb, smelled of ink and tea. As she faced her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Tang, their faces lined with worry from her recent defiance of Jason. "Mom, Dad, we need to protect the factory," Sophia began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "Jason and Emily can't be trusted. In my dreams," she said, careful not to reveal her rebirth, "I saw them manipulate us, take everything. We need stronger oversight and trusted managers who report directly to you." Mr. Tang's brow furrowed, his calloused hands tightening. "Sophia, we've always been careful, but Jason's influence worried us. What do you suggest?" Mrs. Tang leaned forward, her eyes searching. "You've changed, dear. You're thinking like a leader." Sophia outlined her plan: appoint loyal supervisors to oversee operations, require dual signatures for significant decisions, and audit the factory's accounts monthly. She said that we can't let anyone exploit our trust, again her past life's betrayal fueling her resolve. Her parents nodded, impressed by her foresight. Mr. Tang, who had built the factory from a single loom, saw its vulnerability in an era where private businesses faced scrutiny. "You're right," he said. "We'll hire Mr. Chen and Mrs. Li. They've been with us for years. They'll keep things tight." Mrs. Tang squeezed Sophia's hand. "We're proud of you, Sophia. You're protecting our legacy." Sophia joined her father at the factory the next day, and the rhythmic clatter reminded her of its importance. She met with Mr. Chen, a grizzled foreman, and Mrs. Li, a meticulous accountant, explaining the new protocols. Their loyalty to the Tangs was unwavering, and they agreed to monitor any outsiders, especially Jason, who had once charmed his way into minor roles. Sophia's proactive steps felt like armor shielding the factory from the fate she had seen in her past life. The town, steeped in patriarchal norms, might see her as overstepping, a woman meddling in business, but her rebirth demanded boldness. Meanwhile, chaos brewed outside the Tang's fortified world. Jason and Emily, cut off from Sophia's support, struggled without funds for exam prep or basic needs. Whispers reached Sophia through her housekeeper Jason, and Emily argued daily, their once close bond fraying. "It's your fault we're in this mess," Jason snapped at Emily one evening, overheard by a neighbor. "You pushed for college, and now we've got nothing." Emily's retort was sharp. "You promised me a future, Jason. Please don't blame me for your failure." Their desperation, born of lost access to the Tang's wealth, starkly contrasted with Sophia's growing strength. The community buzzed with gossip, some praising Sophia's defiance, others clucking at her audacity. An elder muttered at the market, saying a woman should support her man, not cut him off. But others admired her resolve, seeing the factory's importance to their livelihoods. Sophia ignored the noise, her focus split between her studies with Zev and her mission to safeguard the factory. Zev, sensing her burden, offered quiet support. He said, "You're doing the right thing during a study break," his eyes warm. "The factory's safe with you leading the charge." His faith bolstered her, a reminder of their shared goal to pass the exam and secure a future for both their families. Sophia's actions marked a turning point. Once vulnerable to Jason's schemes, the factory stood fortified, its operations locked down under loyal hands. Her parents' pride grew, their trust in her deepening. The cultural stakes of 1980s China, where a family's status hinged on wealth and education, amplified her resolve. Sophia wasn't just studying for herself, but building a legacy that no one could steal. As the exam approached, she felt a surge of purpose, her reborn heart no longer swayed by Jason's empty promises, but steeled for the fight ahead. The late summer sun cast long shadows across the Tang family's courtyard, where Sophia Tang stood, her books tucked under her arm, fresh from a study session with Zev Carter. The National College entrance exam was weeks away, a crucible of ambition in 1980s China, where a degree could redefine one's place in a society hungry for progress. Sophia's reborn resolve, fueled by memories of Jason Miller and Emily Clark's betrayal in her past life, had transformed her. No longer the naive fiancé who funded their schemes, she had broken her engagement with Jason, fortified her family's textile factory, and allied with Zev to pursue her education. But the past refused to stay buried. As Sophia stepped toward the gate, Emily appeared, her face pale and her eyes burning with desperation and defiance. Emily Clark's life had been shaped by poverty, and her parents' farm barely yielded enough to survive. In Sophia's past life, Emily's ambition had fueled her betrayal, and her closeness with Jason was rooted in a belief that he was her escape from hardship. She had seen Sophia's wealth as an obstacle, resenting the factory owner's daughter who stole Jason's affection. Without Sophia's financial support, Emily's dreams of college and the social mobility it promised were crumbling. The 1980s cultural reverence for education made her plight stark. A degree was her only path to a life beyond the fields. Her calculated meekness had once swayed Sophia, but the reborn Sophia saw through it, her past life's memories of Emily's cold cruelty sharpening her gaze. "Sophia, please," Emily began, her voice trembling as she blocked the path. "You can't do this to Jason. He's your fiancé. You're only with Zev to make him jealous." Her words were a plea, but her eyes flickered with calculation, a remnant of the schemer who had plotted against the Tangs. Sophia's heart hardened, recalling Emily's sneer as she bled out in her past life, her unborn child lost to their betrayal. "There's no engagement," Sophia said coldly. "Jason ended it when he demanded I fund you both. Or have you forgotten?" The words cut Emily's facade, cracked her hands, twisting in her faded dress. "You don't understand," Emily pressed, stepping closer. "I've worked so hard for this chance. My family has nothing, college is all I have. Jason promised we'd go together, that we'd build a future. You're rich, Sophia. You don't know what it's like to claw your way up." Her voice broke, revealing a truth Sophia hadn't fully grasped in her past life. Emily's ambition was born of desperation, her loyalty to Jason a mix of love and survival. In 1980s China, where women faced steep barriers, Emily saw Jason as her anchor, his potential degree a shared ticket to respectability. But Sophia's wealth had always been her rival, a wall she couldn't scale. Sophia's eyes narrowed. "Your dreams aren't my responsibility, Emily. You and Jason used me before, and I won't let it happen again." Her voice was steady, her reborn clarity unshaken. Emily's face flushed, her desperation boiling into anger. "You're heartless. You're throwing away years with Jason to spite me. You think Zev's better? He's nothing, a poor herbalist who'll drag you down." The outburst drew curious glances from villagers passing by, their whispers, a reminder of the town's patriarchal lens. A woman defying her former fiancé was scandalous, especially when aligned with someone like Zev, whose poverty made him an unlikely match for the Tang heiress. Sophia stood her ground, the factory's looms humming in her mind, a symbol of her family's legacy she was determined to protect. "Jason made his choice, and so have I," she said, her tone final. "Zev and I are studying for the exam, and I'll succeed without your schemes. Go home, Emily." She turned to leave, but Emily grabbed her arm, her voice low and urgent. "If Jason doesn't take the exam, it's on you. You'll regret this when he's gone for good." The threat, laced with the era's expectation that a woman's worth was tied to her husband, was meant to wound, but Sophia's rebirth had freed her from such chains. Sophia felt pity and resolve as Emily stormed off, her figure retreating into the dusty street. Emily's desperation was absolute, but her past life's betrayal, her role in stealing the factory, her cold indifference, as Sophia died, outweighed any sympathy. The community's murmurs grew louder, some calling Sophia cold, others admiring her nerve. "She's protecting the factory," one worker whispered, aware of its role in their livelihoods. In the 1980s, China, where private enterprises were rare, the Tang factory was a lifeline, and Sophia's defiance was a stand for more than herself. Zev, waiting by the gate, met her eyes with quiet pride. "You handled that well," he said. "Let's keep studying." Sophia nodded, her heart steady. Emily's desperation was a shadow of her past life's pain, but Sophia's future was hers to shape. The dusty streets of Sophia Tang's small town buzzed with gossip. As the summer of 1980 waned, the National College entrance exam drawing closer. In post-cultural revolution China, the exam was a lifeline to prestige, a chance to rise above the struggles of a nation rebuilding itself. Sophia, fortified by her reborn memories and a celestial mandate to guard her heart, had severed her engagement with Jason Miller, allied with Zev Carter, and secured her family's textile factory against betrayal. Fueled by mutual ambition, her study sessions with Zev had transformed her from a sheltered heiress into a determined scholar. But Jason, stripped of her support, refused to fade quietly. On a humid afternoon, Sophia walked home from the market, and he appeared clutching a ragged bouquet of wildflowers, his face a mix of desperation and false charm. Jason's once confident demeanor was frayed, his eyes darting as he blocked Sophia's path. The town's whispers had turned against him, his reputation as a promising scholar tainted by his fallout with the Tangs. In 1980s China, where social status hinged on education and alliances, his loss of Sophia's wealth was a public humiliation. "Sophia, I messed up," he began, his voice low, the wildflowers trembling in his hands. "I shouldn't have pushed you about Emily. I'll cut her off completely, promise. Just take me back and we can continue our engagement. You don't want to throw away what we had, do you?" His words, laced with the era's expectation that a woman needed a man to secure her future, were a calculated plea. Once swayed by Jason's charm, Sophia's heart now beats with the clarity of her past life's betrayal. She saw him as he was, then standing over her dying body, indifferent as she bled out the factory stolen, her parents gone. "You think flowers fix everything?" she said, her voice cold. "You ended our engagement, Jason, when you demanded I fund Emily. I'm done with your games." Her defiance, bold for a woman in a patriarchal town, drew curious glances from passers-by, their murmurs a mix of shock and intrigue. The Tang factory, a cornerstone of their community, made Sophia's stand a spectacle, its looms symbolizing the stakes of her family's legacy. Jason's face twisted, his charm giving way to frustration. "You're making a mistake, Sophia. Zev's nothing, a poor nobody who'll never match me. You're throwing away a future with a college man for him." His words echoed the town's biases, where wealth and education defined worth. But Sophia's reborn resolve was unshaken. "Zev's worth more than your empty promises," she retorted. "He's honest, and we're building a future together, one you'll never understand." Her words stung, and Jason's eyes flashed angrily, the wildflowers dropping to the dirt. Before he could respond, Zev appeared, his lean frame tense as he stepped between them, his hands calloused from herb gathering clenched into fists. "Jason, leave her alone," he said, his voice low but firm. "Sophia has made her choice. You can't bully her into changing it." Zev's presence, grounded in the integrity Sophia had seen in her past life, starkly contrasts with Jason's desperation. The crowd grew, villagers drawn to the drama, their whispers amplifying the stakes. In the 1980s in China, public confrontations were rare, especially one pitting a wealthy heiress and a poor scholar against a fallen favorite. Jason sneered, his pride wounded. "You think you're better than me, Carter? You're just leeching off her money." The accusation was a last grasp at dominance, but Zev's response was swift. A sharp punch to Jason's jaw, sending him staggering. "That's for bothering her," Zev snapped. "Keep it up and it won't stop at one." The crowd gasped, some laughing, others murmuring about Zev's nerve. When faced with strength, Jason, ever the coward, scrambled to his feet, his face red with humiliation. "You'll both regret this," he shouted, stumbling away. The wildflowers crushed underfoot. The villagers' chatter swelled, some decrying Sophia's boldness, others praising her for standing firm. She's protecting the factory, a worker muttered, aware of its role in their livelihoods. Jason had his chance. Sophia met Zev's eyes, gratitude warming her chest. "Thank you," she said softly. Zev's shy smile returned, his voice steady. "I meant what I said, Sophia. You're worth more than his lies. Let's focus on the exam and our future." His words, hinting at their upcoming wedding, sparked hope. The town's judgment, rooted in patriarchal norms, faded against their shared resolve. Sophia's defiance had shifted the tide. Jason's public humiliation marked his downfall, while her alliance with Zev, cemented by mutual respect, became the talk of the town. Now secure under her oversight, the factory stood as a testament to her strength. In China, where education and legacy define one's place, Sophia is rewriting her story, her reborn heart guiding her toward triumph. The morning of Sophia Tang's wedding to Zev Carter dawned bright, the summer of 1980, bathing their small town in golden light. The Tang family's courtyard, adorned with red lanterns and jasmine garlands, buzzed with anticipation. In post-cultural revolution China, where the National College entrance exam symbolized hope, Sophia's journey from betrayal to empowerment had captivated the community. Her reborn memories, sparked by a celestial vision, had guided her to break her engagement with Jason Miller, ally with Zev, and secure her family's textile factory. Today, as she stood in a flowing red dress, her heart was light, anchored by Zev's quiet strength. But the past, like a persistent shadow, crashed into her joy as Jason, Emily Clark, and Linda Miller stormed the venue, their presence a storm threatening her triumph. The guests, friends, relatives, and factory workers murmured as Jason clutched a loudspeaker, his voice booming across the courtyard. "Sophia Tang, you're heartless," he shouted. "You broke our engagement because you think I'm poor, and now you're marrying this nobody." Pale and trembling, Emily stood beside him, her eyes darting nervously while Linda's scowl radiated indignation. The crowd's whispers grew, reflecting the 1980s patriarchal norms that viewed Sophia's defiance as scandalous. A woman rejecting a promising man for a poor herbalist like Zev was unthinkable, yet the factory's importance to the town lent her choice weight. Sophia's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Tang, tensed, their hands gripping each other. They had anticipated trouble, stationing factory workers as guards. But Sophia raised a hand, her voice calm. "Wait. Let them speak. Guests are guests, after all." Her composure honed by her past life's pain, Jason and Emily's betrayal, her parents' deaths, her lost child, drew gasps. In his simple groom's jacket, Zev stood beside her, his eyes steady with trust. Jason, mistaking her calm for weakness, smirked. "I knew you couldn't let me go, Sophia. This wedding's a sham. You're just waiting for me to take you back." He leaned closer, whispering, "Agree to marry me or I'll ruin your reputation. No one will touch a tainted woman, not even Zev." The threat, steeped in the era's obsession with female virtue, was meant to break her, but Sophia's reborn heart was unshaken. She stepped forward, taking the microphone from the MC, her voice clear. "Everyone, you've heard rumors about Jason and me. Let me set the record straight. I ended our engagement because he and Emily betrayed my trust, demanding I fund her education while plotting against my family." The crowd hushed, eyes wide. Jason scoffed. "That's a lie. It was a misunderstanding. I apologized." Emily nodded, her voice shrill. "There's nothing between us, Sophia. You're just jealous, slandering me to justify marrying Zev." Sophia's gaze hardened, her past life's memories vivid, Emily's sneer as she bled out, admitting her spiteful abortion to torment Sophia. "It's not slander," she said, her tone icy. "I have a witness. Director Liu from Fuba Clinic, please step forward." A middle-aged man rose hesitantly, his face grave. 2 days ago, Emily came to my clinic for an exam. She's pregnant, and Jason was with her. Their behavior suggests he's the father." The crowd gasped, the revelation explosive in a town where premarital affairs were taboo. Emily's face drained of color, and she stumbled, collapsing at the steps, blood pooling beneath her, a miscarriage undeniable and public. Jason's bravado crumbled, his voice frantic. "She seduced me. I'm innocent," Sophia Linda chimed in. "It's true, you're like our daughter-in-law, don't marry Zev." But the crowd's laughter drowned them out, their mockery a shift in public favor. Sophia faced the guests, her voice steady. "Jason and Emily used my family's wealth, betrayed us, and now lie to save face. I chose Zev because he's honest, loyal, and worthy. This wedding is my truth. Zev took her hand, his voice firm. I love Sophia for who she is, not her money. No lies will change that. Mr. Tang signaled the guards who escorted Jason, Emily, and Linda out, their protests fading. The guests, moved by Sophia's courage, applauded the factory's role in their lives, reinforcing her stand. In 1980s China, where honor and legacy mattered, Sophia's public reckoning was a triumph, her reborn resolve shining through. As the ceremony resumed, Zev's grip on her hand promised a future built on trust, not betrayal. The Tang family's courtyard, still adorned with fading jasmine garlands, stood quiet days after Sophia Tang and Zev Carter's wedding, the echoes of their triumph lingering in the summer air of 1980. In a China reborn from the shadows of the Cultural Revolution, the National College entrance exam had been Sophia's proving ground, a path to redefine herself beyond the betrayal of her past life. Guided by a celestial vision to guard her heart, she had broken her engagement with Jason Miller, allied with Zev, and safeguarded her family's textile factory. The wedding, marked by the public exposure of Jason and Emily Clark's deceit, had shifted the town's tide, cementing Sophia's strength. Now, as the exam results loomed, Sophia stood at the cusp of a new life, her reborn resolve shaping a future of peace and justice. The aftermath of the wedding rippled through the town, its patriarchal norms shaken by Sophia's defiance. Emily's miscarriage revealed before the crowd confirmed her affair with Jason, branding her a pariah in a society where premarital scandal was unforgivable. Her dreams of college, once fueled by ambition to escape her family's poverty, lay in ruins. The severe blood loss from her miscarriage left her infertile, a devastating blow in 1980s China, where motherhood often defined a woman's worth. Emily's desperation turned to despair, her once calculated facade crumbling as neighbors shunned her, whispering of her fall from grace. Jason, too, faced ruin. His mother, Linda Miller, collapsed from a heart attack days after the wedding, her health broken by the loss of her grandson and Jason's tarnished reputation. Clinging to life, she clutched Jason's hand, her voice weak. It's Emily's fault. If not for her, you'd be the Tang's son-in-law. Her words poisoned Jason's mind, fueling a hatred for Emily. Penniless and despised, he begged for help to save Linda, but the town, aware of his betrayal through the wedding's spectacle, turned him away. Linda died, her final breath, a curse on Emily, leaving Jason alone, his dreams of college fading without Sophia's support. Emily, reeling from her infertility, clung to Jason, pressuring him to marry her to salvage her honor. You owe me, she pleaded, her voice raw. But Jason, consumed by rage, and Linda's dying words, saw her as the source of his ruin. In a moment of madness, he lashed out, beating Emily with a ferocity that shocked even him. She crumpled lifeless under his blows. Jason's arrest was swift, the town's outrage sealing his fate. Convicted of murder, he was sentenced to death, his execution a grim end to the man who had once charmed Sophia. The community, once swayed by his potential, now saw him as a cautionary tale, his fall a testament to the consequences of greed. Sophia and Zev, meanwhile, received their exam results on a crisp morning, the envelopes trembling in their hands. Sophia's heart raced as she opened hers. She had not only passed, but earned a spot at the same prestigious university as Zev, who, true to her past life's memory, was the top scorer. The achievement, hard-won through months of grueling study, was a triumph over her past self's doubts. In the 1980s in China, where a degree was a rare honor, their success was a beacon elevating their family's status. The Tang factory, now secure under Sophia's oversight and strengthened by Zev's loyalty, thrived with new managers and protocols and looms, a steady pulse of prosperity. Sophia and Zev took over the factory's leadership, allowing Mr. and Mrs. Tang to retire early, their faces glowing with pride as they planned travels across China. The couple settled into a life of love and purpose, raising 2 children who filled their home with laughter. The factory, a symbol of resilience in an era of economic reform, became a model of innovation under their care, employing more workers and fueling the town's growth. Sophia often reflected on her rebirth, the celestial figure's words, "Learn from your trust and guard your heart," guiding her choices. She had trusted wisely in Zev, whose quiet strength mirrored her own. As years passed, Sophia's peace was unbroken, her past life's pain a distant memory. The town, once quick to judge her defiance, now celebrated her as a leader, the factory's success a testament to her vision. Judging by their actions, Jason and Emily's downfall was justice served and a balance was restored. Sophia stood by the factory's gates one evening, Zev's hand in hers, their children playing nearby. The loom's hum mingled with the breeze, a song of triumph. Her second chance had taught her to survive and thrive, her heart guarded yet open to love her legacy, secure in a China awakening to new possibilities.